The internet is wrong about Hazbin Hotel, and can you really blame it for that? I mean, it's the noise, right? This syncopated ritual fuels its own flame, and regardless of whether you like the show or not, these work in tandem. I found it crazy to observe from the outside, so I decided to do something every YouTube critic dreads doing: actually watch the show. So yes, I watched Hazbin Hotel, finishing season 2 not too long ago. And I mean this from the bottom of my bare heart, that there is something fundamentally being missed about Hazbin that completely changes the conversation. So let's talk about it.
Welcome to hell, motherfucker!
My first interaction with Vivian vivziepop Medrano was through her fan-made animated music video of Kesha's Die Young. This was back when I was just starting high school in 2014, so I'm not gonna act like I thought so profoundly on what was essentially a furry animation. But I do recall thinking that it was quality, especially for an independent project. Oh, how YouTube has changed. Nowadays we have full-blown productions on YouTube that have real staying power, not just shitposts. vivziepop is partially to thank for that, but for the time, that was my only note of her name. Flash forward to 2019, where I'm now in college and having a bit more of a critical lens to what I watched. Thank you, BoJack Horseman. Still, I was on YouTube, and what got thrown into my feed was a somewhat familiar name from just 5 years ago. But this time, there was an air to it, as it had that also illustrious word attached to it: pilot. The video was Hazbin Hotel, and man, it was raking in the views. Now, to judge a pilot versus an actual TV show, we need to understand their different goals. A pilot, for the uninformed, is an episode of a potential series used to show distributors, like your Cartoon Networks or your Comedy Centrals. Your primary objective when releasing a pilot is to get the viewer invested in your world. It's a pitch. It isn't necessarily going to be your strongest narrative or even a complete work on its own. It's to get the idea. The idea that vivziepop presents in her pilot for Hazbin Hotel is innately compelling. Its strongest characteristic is the potential of where this can go, which, damn, definitely explains the view count at the time.
Pilots.
In the hot top 10!
Whoa, dude, wow!
Presented to you, dear viewer, is hell. Literally, we are in hell, and surprisingly, it still functions as a normal society, albeit with more cartoonishly over-the-top issues. After all, they're all sinners.
Yoink! Hey! Up yours, drag show! Oh my god! My drugs!
But there is an overpopulation problem, with those from heaven coming down to purge those below to solve it. In comes Charlie Morningstar, daughter to Lucifer and Princess of Hell. This guidance counselor from hell believes in the possibility of redemption in each and every sinner. Therefore, to solve the problem of a little casual genocide here and there, she creates a halfway house that can rehabilitate and move sinners into heaven, the titular Hazbin Hotel.
He said it! He said it!
But it's not like this is a proven idea, or really an idea that anyone other than Charlie and her girlfriend Vaggie, a catty defensive moth girl or something, believe in.
Stupid bitch.
The hotel only has one guest, Angel Dust, a drug-addicted porn star hooker with a shitty attitude, and who's only taking advantage of Charlie's offer to have a place to crash.
Can you please just try to take this seriously?
Fine, I'll try. Just don't get your taco in a twist, baby.
Was that you trying to be sexist or racist?
Whatever pisses you off more.
We go on to see a variety of different characteristics and the interactions and mechanisms of this world, TV broadcasts and hell turf wars and all. Really just establishing the chaos of this setting.
Oh, harder, Daddy. Son?
This all culminates with the introduction of Alistair, the radio demon, a surprisingly powerful figure who wants to help for his own nefarious purposes.
Well, I'm starved. Who wants some jambalaya?
That is the hook, and ultimately where we leave off. Can sinners be redeemed? Can Charlie and this band of fuck-ups accomplish this? What inner workings and machinations want to see this mess up? Give us a show!
Give me money, give me money, give me money, give me money, give me money.
Honestly, I think this did a good job in getting people, including myself, interested. Again, the potential was there. It was and still is an incredible hook. This isn't to say that it was flawless though. While the indiness of the show definitely was worn on its sleeve, particularly with Alistair's effects and variety and style, the aesthetics and writing felt low to the ground. Like I said, it's a baseline, but the oversaturation of reds and the animation's bounciness felt a bit overwhelming as a viewer. With that said, I still kept my eyes out for this project in the future. I didn't have to wait that long though, because another pilot came out within a few months. Taking place in the same universe, we got Hell of a Boss. Basically, this show was a more episodic take about imps running a hitman for hire business. Now, this is its own can of worms that I do not have the time to go in depth with, and honestly, it would derail the entire point of this video. We are focusing on Hazbin Hotel, remember? But I bring Hell of a Boss up because its progression and outcome is what hooked me and later turned me off from watching season 1 of Hazbin Hotel. The why ultimately boils down to the disappointment from the pitch. Essentially, what was promised to me as a viewer, an episodic take about this lovable group of misfits trying to execute hits, was exchanged for something entirely different. And that's why I didn't initially watch Hazbin Hotel. I got burned, and my interest just lay dormant for years. Until this year. I was at my partner's house hanging out. It was early in the relationship, so I was still getting to know his family. I'm sure this is very familiar to you guys, but you try to look for things to connect on, just like with any new person in your life. So, his dad, who I lovingly call normal-coded, is to me a very typical father with very understandable interests. Nothing that I couldn't wrap my head around or reason with a simple, yeah, that makes sense. Until I noticed that he loves Hazbin Hotel. And someone at his age, so normal-coded, liking a very online indie animated show, picked up by Amazon, sure, but still, it broke my brain. I had to ask him why he liked the show, and he gave me a pretty direct response.
I just think they're neat.
That alone made me determined to finally watch Hazbin Hotel. Cause it's one thing to have an online fandom, which this show has in abundance, but when you capture general audiences, some that are definitely outside your targeted demographic, you have to be doing something good, right? I've seen the billboards in Times Square, I've seen the plastering on Amazon Prime when perusing its programming. Hell, it's Amazon's biggest show and an A24 breakout. All of this coming from a YouTuber. I gotta give her credit for that. Well played, you got me. Tell me, Hazbin Hotel, what makes your show so special?
Are you gonna actually review Hazbin Hotel, or are you gonna just tiptoe?
What do you mean?
Well, regardless of what you say, you're gonna piss some people off. It's over at that point. They just leave.
I'm pretty confident they won't click off and hear me out. After all, it's the review that's gonna lead into what this whole video is about. What they are getting wrong, you know?
Yeah, but do you actually like Hazbin Hotel? Just a simple yes or no will do for now.
I don't know, man. I just feel like we do a lot of reviews on this channel, and this one I kind of want to, like, bring up a bigger point and everything. I don't know. I'm just... don't get like that. I mean, come on.
Just answer the question!
Fine! I'm gonna try my best to give a perspective on Season 1, Season 2, and the entire show altogether, so far. It is important to give these distinct impressions, especially for Hazbin Hotel, because there is definitely improvement and factors that influence one another. Season 1 of Hazbin Hotel picks up roughly where the pilot has ended, with some things carrying over as canon and other points that are left to rot. A small example, Sir Pentious and Cherry's dynamic are still there, but the attack at the end of the pilot never happened. It is a little bit confusing starting the show because of this, due to the fact that the plot assumes that the viewers are caught up.
You showed up here a week ago. You told us you would help run this hotel. Instead, you're mocking us. Nobody's gonna want to come to a place that a powerful overlord like you thinks is a waste of time.
With that said, the overarching story of this season is that Charlie pitches the hotel plan to Adam, the first man, who now works as an angel and part of the extermination force.
Lude, how many demons did you kill this year?
Got a good 275 this year, sir.
275? Whoa! Badass! Awesome job, Danger Tits. Pound it!
It goes so very wrong, and the time for the next extermination is moved up. So not only does all of Hell have to prepare for another wave of genocide, but Charlie and company have to speed up their plan to show that redemption is possible.
I know it's just been a week, but we'll be back in 6 months!
And that is basically the main setup for Season 1. The plot doesn't necessarily get more complicated than that. It does, however, get bigger than that. Much, much bigger.
Call me Dickmaster.
Which leads me to my main issue with this season, pacing.
Not quite my tempo.
One of the unique factors that vivziepop, Spindle Horse, and A24 are presented with by Amazon is the 8-episode limit. Yeah, you heard me right. They were only given 8 25-ish minute episodes to work with, which is a very short amount of time to have a story arc. It's not impossible, but it's quite the uphill battle. You are going to have to cut a lot of things, lean up the script, and make sure each and everything has a purpose. It has to be tight, but for one reason or another, the show refuses to cut anything. For example, let's talk about the music numbers. After all, this is a musical. These show tunes have got to be bumping while also serving a direct purpose. There are a total of 16 songs in this roughly 3.5-hour story. With that math, you are averaging about 1 song every 12.5 minutes, or 2 music numbers an episode. That is very frequent, even for shows that have a heavy amount of numbers in them. It can work, but like I said, it has to either be fundamental to the understanding of the plot or just that good of a song. If it's gonna be this constant, then it's gotta be good. Because of Hazbin refusing to concede some plot lines or push them back, I found myself seeing most of these songs as needed only due to the writing demanding that this event happens now. Case in point, More Than Anything is a song between Charlie and her dad, Lucifer. It's supposed to be a touching moment between father and daughter, with Lucifer finally believing in Charlie's vision as an extension of trust. However, it comes literally 20 minutes after meeting the guy. I can't help but say, yeah, you need it, but it could have been executed better. You need the song in your story when these two have a final moment of understanding, thus ending that point in the arc, but it's too early for that without spoiling season 2. Or with songs like Respectless and Whatever It Takes, it becomes a pick one situation. These two songs hit back to back, each serving a distinct purpose. Respectless is the better song in my opinion, but Whatever It Takes is way more crucial to the plot that the show wants us to care about at that moment, despite Vaggie bulldozing her way into the song. You gotta have one or the other. This trend continues, and while I think the songs themselves are mostly fine as songs, it's evident that there's just too much.
Too much.
That theme of too much persists throughout the show in other ways as well. It really boils down to that pacing problem.
Not quite my tempo.
8 episodes where everything seems to want to be the focus is akin to a bunch of theater kids fighting for the spotlight. The lead focus is Charlie and the exterminations, but at the same time Hazbin wants to set up Lucifer's poor father behaviors, Angel Dust's addiction to both drugs and abuse being meted out by his pimp, Sir Pentious and Cherry Bomb having an enemies to lovers plot, the V's making a ploy to gain more control of their media empire while beefing with Alistair, the Overlord strategizing how to deal with the reveal that angels can be killed and the genocide being moved up, Heaven plotting their next assault against Hell and their internal fracture occurring between the angelic hierarchy on whether redemption is possible. Fuck, that's a lot. I'm not saying that these are bad ideas, they seem like natural places to move the story along, but this all didn't need to happen in season 1. The potential is high, and I know that you're excited to try and get to these ideas, like God only knows if you're gonna get another season in this day and age. But your show needs to take a breath and have these calm moments where even subtle and soft, the audience falls in love with a character. I can only recall one major instance that worked for me in this way, which happened in episode 6. While Charlie and Vaggie are fucking around in heaven, we as an audience get to see the rest of the hotel group mess around with Cherry at a nightclub. The scene serves its purpose for the A-plot in heaven, but more importantly, it gives time for these guys to talk to each other for a bit. It didn't last too long, sure, but I actually started to care about Sir Pentious. That's good, more of that, please.
Maybe you'd want to, do a sex with me.
Damn, I bet he get all the bitches.
But sadly, I didn't feel that in any other major scene. A majority of the time, Hazbin Hotel tells me what these characters feel, but I don't get to see it. Was there anything I liked about season 1? Of course, I liked Sir Pentious.
Who, me?
Okay, but for real, I did enjoy more than just my snake inventor. The animation is really good. While I dislike the color palette Hazbin plays with, the actual animation of the show is awesome. But my number one compliment to Hazbin Hotel, even going into next season, is that nothing was phoned in. There's a lot of passion that blooms from this work, and from the top down, I can tell everyone is bringing their A game. The voice actors, an amazing cast of some of Broadway's best, are lifting up these performances even when the dialogue is lackluster. Blake Roman, Alex Brightman, and the legend Keith David were specifically some of my favorites. That goes into saying that I enjoyed a good amount of the songs too, Loser Baby, Hell's Greatest Dad, and Ready for This being quality tunes. It is just missing something to escape out of the play and onto my playlist, but maybe that will come later. But overall, I didn't really hate or love season 1 that much. It didn't pop for me and honestly felt mid overall. It's fine, so I didn't know what to expect going into Season 2, and yeah, Season 2 is indeed a step in the right direction.
You can punish me if you want to.
Ew. No. She belongs to the streets.
Dealing with the ramifications of Season 1, mainly that redemption is indeed possible, Season 2 asks the next logical question: what does it take to be redeemed? Which, in my opinion, is a way more interesting concept, although it is way harder to tackle. It is very, very character-driven, because naturally it's something that varies from person to person. What is their sin? What is the thing that holds them back? I, as a viewer, need to be invested in these characters to care about their emotional turmoil. Now, Season 1 didn't really do it for me when establishing these guys, except Sir Pentious, so this reframing is almost like a second chance, a redemption if you will. Does it take up this challenge? Kind of, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
VoxTech loves women in STEM.
Our villains trade places this time. Instead of the Angels, Vox and the V's, who were kinda there but also not in Season 1, take center stage. I'm more on board with these guys as the antagonists, not only because the vocal talents of each of the three are some of the best in the show, but they operate as great foils on paper. I see the logic. Instead of Charlie's desire to have literal redemption to higher places, Vox and the V's, with selfish intent, posed the idea of embracing who you are. After the Angels basically committed genocide on all the people of Hell based on what they are, it makes way for that kind of ideology to root itself. Again, this is on paper, but the table is set. The execution, however, is ill-defined. Not only is pacing still an issue in this season,
Not quite my tempo.
Rushing or dragging? Rushing. So you do know the difference!
but so is the telling not showing problem. That is a huge deal when you are trying to have an extremely character-focused theme for the story, even more so than last. It gets better, sure. I mean, I care way more about Angel and Husk this season. The star examples, though, would have to be Vox and Alistair, both receiving a much-needed overhaul. It is indeed a bit of proof that Vizzy can do show-don't-tell writing. They play well off of each other, and Alistair having this underlying plan throughout the episodes makes for a really nice payoff at the end. Was it aura farming?
You absolute idiot!
Sure, but I'll allow it. That's nice for the side characters and villains, but I still don't care about the lead of the show. Charlie is such a bland character in both seasons, and it's hard to explain, but Hazbin seems to agree with that sentiment. The show doesn't even focus on her that much. Most of the time when we aren't dealing with others directly, it's Charlie acting as the audience surrogate, not as her own person in the story. I kind of feel like that's a problem. Compounded with the vagueness in the writing, it just leaves some characters like Charlie left with nothing. And yeah, it might be set up, but you still gotta address some of it in the moment. I'm sorry if this all sounds nebulous, but the show feels nebulous at times too. The biggest improvement though, hands down, is the animation and music. I don't know what they changed or who they brought in for storyboards or compositions, but I actually was so happy to see this big of a leap. Like, I already thought Season 1 had good animation, but damn does it go all out for this batch of episodes. But the music especially, oh my goodness, there are songs that actually made the playlist. Love in a Bottle and Losing Streak do things to me that some of my favorite musicals do. Big plus for this show. And wouldn't you know, the main reason I feel this is because the best songs of the season avoid the telling not showing problem. They use musical motifs and complement the animation to show me why this character is singing. The emotion for those works justified their existence, and I'm happy to say that. A friend of mine mentioned that Hazbin Hotel feels like it operates on stage show logic, and yeah, I kinda see it after listening to all these songs. Compared to last season, it is like Hydrogen Bomb versus Coughing Baby. I can't go back to the first OST because of this one. Good job, Sam Haft, seriously.
I say when to sit and stay, roll over or go fetch, don't you forget.
I don't think this was enough, however, for me to call this season great, but I am more than comfortable to call it good. Maybe it's because I had the lens to view these both back to back, so it just made it more apparent what these guys were trying to do in Season 1 and how they improved upon it in Season 2. Maybe if they can get some more episodes, it can improve their visions for this big world Vizzy and co are trying to build. But I gotta judge this as is and not as I want it to be. Still a better season though. The plot holes are still there, don't get me wrong. I mean, the final assault on Vox's plan relies on a broadcast being started from heaven to show Sir Pentious. But why didn't the angels just take a video or picture of him in heaven? Everyone has phones in these worlds, right?
Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
This is just one example, but the plot holes do limit me from thinking about this show more critically because it forces you to assume things to make the story work. It's not like one instance such as the Great Eagles from Lord of the Rings, it compounds. If you can turn your brain off though and just accept it as is, then it's way more enjoyable than last season. I think it bumps it up from a 5 to a 6 or a 7.
6, 7. I'm such a fat fucking chud.
Although, the conclusion to this season felt like it was straight out of MLP, and I really did get secondhand embarrassment watching that. Who the fuck gets to have a piss beam? Like, come on, give Baxter one or something, I don't know. Also, how did they know that the piss beam was even gonna work in the first place? They were just winging it? You know what? Emily should have just chotsued herself. After watching Hazbin Hotel in its entirety, I was honestly left with more questions than answers. Remember, the main point of this was to find the appeal, and while I see the good sparkle through from time to time, it didn't lay it out for me. The music is awesome, some of the characters I care for are done well enough, the concept intrigues me, and the story is fine. But it just failed to go the distance for me. From concept to execution, Hazbin Hotel always feels like one edit away from being great. It just comes up short. I say this, but this program is Amazon's biggest show right now. It is breaking records, hosting Broadway sing-alongs, causing battles on the internet that I have not seen on such a scale. All of this for ultimately a mid thing. Most of its concepts just land in that middle of the road part of my brain. If I was gonna hate it, I thought it would be a loving hate watch like I have with other things, like Once Upon a Time if anyone remembers that.
I kind of ate the only boyfriend I've ever had.
If I was gonna love it, I really wanted it to smack me in the face. But it did neither of those things. It's just okay. What is the appeal? I need to know! I hope you're happy, man, but honestly, I'm more confused than when I started this video. I don't see it like others do, haters and fans alike. What am I missing?
Well, to keep it a buck, I don't like this thing at all. I hate musicals, and I'm not a fan of Vivzie. I think her works insist upon themselves.
Is that a bit, or what? You never watched the show, though? You told me that.
Nah, I get the gist, though. I just see the clips coming on my timeline and my For You page and stuff, and I don't know, I've seen enough. I got my fill. Too much for one lifetime. You know what we should talk about is The Chair Company. That's a good show. Tim Robinson, that guy...
Say that again.
The Chair Company?
No, before that.
I've seen enough?
Oh my god.
You got your sheep, and you got your black sheep, and I'm not even a sheep. I'm on the freaking moon.
Okay, follow me on this. I promise this is related to Hazbin Hotel, but have you ever had a concept or an observation in your head that you knew there was a term for, but it escapes you? Well, I felt that after watching this show, mainly due to the upfront nature of the writing. I'm supposed to feel sad for this character because they tell me that they are sad. This character is smart and has a smart plan because that is what I'm told by the show. It felt to me as very face value, what you see is what you get. I described this feeling to a friend of mine, let's call him Kevin for anonymity's sake. Given that he actually reads shit, luckily he knew exactly what I was talking about and had the article ready to go. Written by Nemwali Serpell and published in The New Yorker, she describes this trend happening all over the place in art. In her own words, it beats a dead horse, even going as far to compare it to the Family Guy clip of Peter saying The Godfather insists upon itself. These works thrive in generalizations, a phenomenon in writing she has dubbed new literalism. What you see is, by all intents and purposes, what you get. There is a quote in this article that is so on point that it would be a disservice not to read it to you directly. After all, it was the piece that made it click for me.
The point is not to be lifelike or fact-based, but familiar and formulaic. In a word, predictable. Artists and audiences sometimes define this legibility as democratic, a way to reach everyone. It is, in fact, condescending. Forget the degradation of art into content. Content has been demoted to concept, and concept has become a banner ad.
I believe that Hazbin Hotel is a champion of new literalism, and is the exact reason why it is not only so popular and loved, but also hated and scorned. This is why there are endless battles on the internet over this show. It is what it is, and everyone is meant to do the legwork and fill in the gaps. Whatever the show doesn't define explicitly, that is your homework. You must lift based on the vibes. A lot of Hazbin's vagueness that I mentioned in the review section is to serve this, even subconsciously. For example, there are a lot of viewers that partake in woobifying or demonizing characters over supposed backstory that's not even in the text. I've seen posts where Adam and Heaven fans defended their actions in wiping out the citizens of Hell based on the potential of a backstory that justifies their actions. There is no backstory at the time of writing this script. They are just pulling that out of their ass.
It's false. No way. No. It's totally made up. Pure fiction.
It is just a way for them to help cope with liking these characters because the show isn't giving them shit. I've seen people demonize Charlie and Vaggie for coercing each other into sex after apparent abuse from each other. What the fuck are you even talking about? And people just go along with this because, hey, the vibe is there. It makes sense to Jane that the writing goes that way, but John over there probably thinks Jane is a dumbass because his views are different. In reality, the text is definite in what it tells you, but shows little to nothing of depth. Therefore, if you are actually trying to wrap your head around Hazbin Hotel and not just blindly consume it, you must engage with the game of vibes. You have to rationalize this, lest you fall into seeing behind the curtain and going insane. We are at the Mountains of Madness, and it's just way simpler to accept the show's place as a binary of good or bad. Is Hazbin Hotel the only show with a critique like this? Fuck no, I remember having these same feelings with Steven Universe back in the day. This type of vibes-based approach off of new literalism is a toxic combination only brewed in the hearts of fandom. You are in this catch-22 of expectations that leads down bickering roads. Either you accept the show as is, a very flat, simple, popcorn-munching story, and then get blasted for not finding the deeper meaning, or you try to engage with it in a serious lens and find all the cracks and faults of the work, making you hate it more. I'm trying to coast by on path 1, but I gotta engage with both of these to some degree to find understanding, but the online space makes that very hard to do. Not to generalize, but in the eyes of fans, their headcanon is the best canon the show can offer. Whether the show gives them nothing or even contradicts that information, it doesn't matter. You spin a tale and take clips out of context, you can make anything seem plausible. Is it bad faith? In some cases, yes, but the show has to accept responsibility at some point because if you got nothing to go off of, people are gonna make shit up. Especially when we consider our parasocial relationship with the media we consume. Even if it's not intentional, people's likes and dislikes extend themselves almost as if they are body parts. When a random guy shits on a show you like, it feels like you're getting punched. If they like it, you get a little dopamine hit. It feels like a nice hug. I can totally see why people go insane over the show in either direction. No one is operating on the same viewpoint as the other, and everyone is dead set on not being wrong. And you know what? I have proof of this. Yeah, so in the Bear Bites Discord, link in the description if you want to join, I ran a little experiment after shortly deciding with the team that the next video we would be covering is Hazbin Hotel. Immediately, the server turned into a Splatoon map with the defenders of the show on one side and the haters on the other. This split into two chats, Heaven and Hell, to keep in theme. It didn't take long for one chat to seep into the other, and within a day or two we had staff in full-out fisticuffs. They couldn't even agree on basic shit. It bloomed into brawls that would even make Twitter blush. Ultimately though, while the shit-flinging got out of hand, nothing ventured into unforgivable territory. Most of the time, fans being fans and fighting the haters and vice versa doesn't intrinsically bring harm. It's annoying, yeah, but nothing that ventures into problematic. That is, until your show wants to deal with something serious. Cause if you can't reel in the fans within your writing, they are going to press the nuke button. And with that, it is finally time to talk about Valentino. Content warning, this section is about abuse. Feel free to skip to this part of the video if you want to avoid that unpleasant topic. Get fucked! It's a pretty cold take to call this Hazbin Hotel's biggest controversy, right? It's the one I hear about the most at least, and probably has the biggest legs for criticism, but not in the most blatant way I see it discussed. Let me explain. As a refresher, or just in case you are watching a Hazbin video without watching Hazbin Hotel for some fucking reason, Valentino is part of the V's. These guys are reoccurring villains throughout the show so far, and make their debut as the chief bads in season 2. While the other V's, Vox, and even Velvet to a degree, have more going on in the story, Valentino serves one purpose. He is the abusive adult entertainment mogul, responsible and catering physical, sexual, and mental strikes onto Angel Dust and others. That's it. That is their entire character. That is all Hazbin Hotel has to say about Valentino, and that's kind of a problem. I guess he's also from Florida, too?
I'm from fucking Florida!
This issue arises for two reasons. When writing a character as vile as Valentino, you can't start them off as one-dimensional with this being their one trait and expect audiences ready to let him grow in depth. Not forgive them, at least I hope not, but to let them flourish in their narrative. We all love hating villains for their wicked acts, seeing how the story twists them into these diabolical vessels with nuanced layers. But the nuance serves an important purpose, to let the viewer see the human behind the monster and to know that these heinous actions are capable by the hands of mankind. Let me say this again, this is to not garner sympathy, but rather the real-world consequences of a villain's creation. That is, if you want your story to have that level of intricacy for its characters, which leads me to the second prong. If you are going to have this kind of one-dimensional character do these types of actions, you need to establish your tone and keep it there. No flip-flopping or do-overs. Hazbin Hotel has this conundrum where it can't decide, whether intentionally or not, to take Angel's abuse seriously or not. In Season 1, it is shown through a very daunting lens, but Season 2 comes around and Valentino's physical abuse is treated like slapstick at the start and then left alone for the rest of the season. No, seriously, that's what happens. I'll even play the slapstick clip unedited.
When have I ever hit him?
The show just shits out that joke and expects me to not comment on it for the rest of the story? I know the way that the writing plays out makes it hard to focus on that, but that's basically where we leave off on it. And on top of that, Valentino himself is paraded around the story as a comedic figure. Makes it hard for me to give a shit about his worries when I think about the future plays and his part happens. Why the fuck are you bitching? Why should I care about you?
And if he glows any brighter, will he see me anymore?
You like that? Huh? You like that? You just tune this out, don't you?
Holy shit, this show can't make up its mind on this character, but the fans will gladly take up the mantle. This is what these two reasons meld into, fandom woobifying an abuser. Hazbin Hotel won't provide depth for Valentino, so the fans retroactively find things to give him any sort of dimension. In strange cases, I've seen people try to argue redemption for this character. You think he actually loves Angel Dust? Where the fuck did you pull that from? All because you want to like your little moth character? Cry me a river, what the fuck?
Quagmire, you're a rapist.
Valentino is the Achilles heel of Hazbin's writing. Whatever way you view this show, as a dramatic comedy or a comedic drama, whether you like it or not, this character doesn't work in any of those pens. This character doesn't have enough going on to make him interesting in a drama, but isn't funny because the show wants you to take him seriously as an abuser while also laughing at him.
I'm from fucking Florida!
Blanket this with a layer of misinformation and online headcanon/readings and you have a million different versions of this character. All of these perspectives failing to see the other and clashing violently over, let's be honest, a really fucking boring person in the show. To be blunt, no amount of philosophical arguing is gonna make me less uncomfortable when Angel Dust's rapist gets a piss beam at the finale song with a smile from Charlie. And yes, I understand what they were trying to do there, but enough people have complained about this, so the creator failed to communicate their supposed intention. That is a big, fat F.
You lose! Good day, sir!
Even with that though, I don't like how this show uses Valentino and doesn't take a stance on him. I am just sick of seeing this fucker, and it takes down the enjoyment of this show while watching it and God forbid discussing it. If you find value in Valentino, fine, but don't be surprised when others hate him. I await for you in my comments.
Hey, fuck you! Yes! Yes! Fuck you too!
But seriously, this just all stems from perspectives. So I ask you, genuinely, to listen to this final part. I want to talk about Bubbles.
Hooray! Bubble party!
Bubbles? Like from Trailer Park Boys?
No, I mean, Will, I don't think we can talk about him anymore. I'm pretty sure he's canceled. But no, I mean actual Bubbles. I'm gonna give credit here where credit is due, because this was explained to me by my good friend and channel artist, Fern, also known as TheSketchFox. He has this way of viewing almost all social interactions that helps contextualize one's own views with others around. We talked about this a lot, especially when researching and writing this video, and I think it is extremely appropriate to end this topic on bubbles. To start, the human collective as a whole can be thought of as bubbles on a dish. Each bubble represents a person or a group of people, their views, shared knowledge, their entire paradigm. Their worldview is that bubble, not from a point of ignorance, but by virtue of not being omniscient. Sure, there are truths that can be observed, but that bubble of yours gives you slightly a different angle than the one across the dish, or maybe even the one right next to you. It is never static, the dish is always in motion, and naturally, as bubbles meet on this large dish, they interact in mainly 3 kinds of ways. First, they can pop, breaking their entire perspective and taking each other out. Second, they can push against each other, still distinctly their own views, but in close proximity with their neighbors. And third, they can combine together, becoming a large collective with shared understanding. Regardless of these outcomes, the soap of these bubbles are exchanged, never to be the same again after interacting. Our social interactions operate like bubbles, and when you understand this, you can garner empathy through your analysis. Empathy that will get you closer to seeing the bigger picture, as unattainable as that may be. But your bubble does change, and ultimately I think that is healthier for discussion as a whole, even for something as silly as fandom. We like to think we are objectively right about things in our critiques and analysis. There could be supporting evidence for our claims in text, sure, but your bubble influences you more than you think. It's almost impossible to discount this when looking at things. However, if you can at least understand this, then it makes discussing really anything a lot easier. The heightened insanity around Hazbin Hotel is because of this lack of understanding. You have one side dead set on this show being utter crap with no redeemable qualities, while the exact opposite side praises it with grace. These camps are operating in 2 different bubbles. Hazbin Hotel might as well be 2 or however many different shows at this point. It breeds this kind of mentality just like other fandom shows. The same vagueness that defines its writing, that gap that exists to make a more palatable second screen viewing experience while also allowing those willing to input their own canon. It functions like a well-oiled machine, self-perpetuating its own motion and growth until it becomes an unstoppable behemoth. So I ask you to not participate in the song and dance. Enjoy it, don't enjoy it, find it mid like me, whatever. Discuss it too, but please do not participate in the cycle. With that said, I want to leave you on one more question, one that I don't have an answer for. Honestly, we might not ever get it. I guess maybe after Hazbin Hotel ends? Earlier I mentioned not giving Hazbin Hotel credit for perpetuating this cycle, as I just called it. But I want to walk that back for a sec. Clearly, vivziepop did something right, as I've said plenty of times in this essay. I give her the well-due roses, but this particular rose, I'm not sure on. Do you think that this is all intentional by the creator? All of this, the whole point of this essay, do you think Hazbin Hotel is purposely trying to achieve this bait within its writing? Sure, the consequence is the same, but I think that changes a lot if the intention was there to begin with. Let me know in the comments, because this bear sure doesn't know. Oh, I almost forgot. So there's this clip floating around of vivziepop with her cast talking about season 3 of both Hell of a Boss and Hazbin Hotel. In it, she claims something that frankly caught me off guard to how crazy it was.
The 3rd season of both shows are my personal favorite seasons.
Yes. We actually considered starting with season 3.
Hazbin was the case.
Star Wars
Hazbin,
style.
what happens in season 3 is what got the show greenlit in the first place. Because I did have that one mapped out, so yes.
That would be insane if this was true, which I admit, I am kind of skeptical. You're telling me she pulled a George Lucas? But you know what, I'll bite. I'm always up for being proven wrong and genuinely want to see the best a show can offer. So I'm just gonna take Vizzy for her word on this and assume that this is true. Assume that season 1 and 2 were just set up for the massive payoff of season 3. This would have to not only retroactively fix the issues currently, but raise the bar. That to me is very exciting. So I await season 3 like the rest of you guys. But for now, maybe I should look back at Hell of a Boss. Maybe.